I care about right now. I've been getting busy. I'm outside. I've been leading an example in a great way. You heard? You heard?
Yo, Jimmy.
I break that nigga 30 minutes. They don't really know who Nas is. If he, son,
Nah, but he know.
my son,
they know about
my
Nas.
son can't tell you one Nas record. You heard? Like, let's keep it a buck here.
I actually reached out to Nas to actually,
Whoa.
I'm doing my chicken head right now because I really want him to get on this record.
Like, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice. He was so nice about him. How did you do that?
So Jim Jones isn't just throwing shade at Nas anymore. Now he's actually threatening to pull up. But here's the thing, Nas barely acknowledged Jim's existence, and when he did, it was so dismissive that it made Jim crash out all over again.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Now this isn't your typical back and forth beef. It's mostly Jim Jones holding on to a grudge that Nas has moved past long ago. This is actually a 2-decade-old drama that started with the Diplomats dissing Nas on mixtapes back in the early 2000s. Back then, it was just lyrical jabs, but Nas didn't bite and he barely reacted. However, there's an old video that just resurfaced where Nas essentially mocked Jim, saying he wasn't even worth the time.
I'm not anxious to hear the Jim Jones diss record.
Now that should have been the end of it, but it wasn't, because all these years later, Jim is still salty about it. At one point, he even threatened to slap Nas, and now he's going off at anyone who challenges him on these comments about being superior to Nas. So now that Jim is actually threatening to pull up on Nas, the internet exploded all over again, with fans clowning Jim for acting like a washed-up rapper desperate for attention. And this time, Jim's threats weren't just talk, they sparked a huge backlash against him.
So let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard them. You want to go to the Billboard entries, pull up Nas Billboard entries, then pull up my Billboard entries.
So Jim Jones keeps running his mouth about pulling up, but Nas couldn't be less interested. During his recent appearance on the Bag Fuel podcast, Jim claimed his comments made Nas viral again, something he says hasn't happened since Ether.
What I did for Nas probably never been done for him in his life. He's never been that viral at all, ever. Ever. He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
Now, has Nas reached out to you?
You did. The last time he was in some like this where people were comparing when him and Jay was beating on him. You heard?
And then Jim said all his peers from his era are too scared to step to him in the booth. And once again, he boldly claimed he's the best from that generation.
Now it's just like I'm where I'm at. I'm at the apex of what I do. You heard? So I'm talking about currently. You heard? Currently, nobody from my era really want to get busy or go and get into the booth with me right now currently. This is a fact, Jack. You heard? If not, they would have stood up a long time ago and holler at me, you dig?
And here's where Jim started throwing out threats. He pulled out cash and challenged Nas or anyone else to settle things in person.
Right now.
The real person.
Right now. And it ain't a money thing, but this is here. You heard? If you want to get busy, is the money on the line. Any one of y'all from my era. I care about right now. I've been getting busy.
But see, no one's biting. And all Jim is really settling is how embarrassing this circus looks. Now, if you missed how this all kicked off, it blew up earlier this month on the Joe and Jada podcast when Jim talked about how his view of Nas changed once he got into the rap game. When Fat Joe asked Jim about a kid comparing him to Nas on Instagram, Jim fired back, saying people should check his Billboard stats to see why he always picks himself over anyone else, no matter who they're comparing him to.
I recently saw a clip on Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
Yeah, that's my young boy.
big hits.
He's wild.
Yo, he looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying? Nas is like a god.
In my era too. I mean,
So to
well,
be compared,
But let me that young kid out.
let me.
he was young and we loved that he loved Jim Jones. I want you to break it down.
Let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard them. You want to go to the Billboard entries, pull up Nas Billboard entries, then pull up my Billboard entries.
Listen, we can't compare the two. What I'm trying to tell you is
I want to go there.
Hold on.
I want to go down the line now because now we going down the line. He's a rapper and I'm a rapper.
Listen,
no. Let's go statistically.
It feels great.
No, but I want to go statistically.
All right, can I say something?
Because when people be like,
I feel the same way. We all feel the same way.
And forget about the numbers. There's nothing that could. There's never is me. Putting me up against anybody. I'm taking me every time. Every time.
Okay, but let me say something though, Jim.
In every category, I get busy.
But see, that Billboard flex? It was straight up wrong, and Billboard actually took the time to fact check Jim. As a solo artist, Jim's only had 2 Hot 100 hits, with 1 top 10. As for Nas, he's got 27 Hot 100 entries, 2 top 10s. And on the album side, Jim's got 3 Billboard 200 entries, while Nas has 27 albums that charted, 16 top 10s, and 6 number 8 second. And this mistake didn't just embarrass Jim, it undercut his whole argument for being the best. But even after tanking his Billboard brag, Jim didn't back down, and the drama escalated again on Nightcap with Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson, where Jim first gave Nas credit for early influence, but then once again questioned how much that really lasted. So it all started when Shannon asked if Jim was sober when he said he's a better rapper than Nas. And that's when Jim snapped back and doubled down, insisting he's not just better, but more influential than the legendary Nas.
Can I ask you a question, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
You smoke, right?
Yeah.
Were you smoking when you said you better than Nas?
I might have been a little bit. Well, as far as let's get this right. I'm way more influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when we talk about the sales and all this type of shit. I don't feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that.
But listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciate him. He had a little bit run. But Nas always came up second to Jay and DMX and all these other people. Like,
Ain't no shame in that. There's a lot of folks came up for the Tom Brady.
He never had that type of influence on us, except for his first album. I already told you. I used to want to dress like Nas because he had a lot of fresh clothes that the hustlers used to wear. We used to see him on TV. He had one of the illest albums of all time. And then in high school when he had the barbecue and shit like that. So I'm a real fan of Nas, but he kind of lost me after the movie Belly and shit like that. Like, I don't.
Man, go ahead on with that, Jim.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm being honest. You ask me. I'm being a fan. I'm telling you, from the movie Belly was fire, but after that, he kind of lost me. I think we was way too much into the game.
And then Jim also brought up Dipset's short-lived beef with Nas back in the early 2000s, saying, "We the ones that went wild on them boys," referencing their 2003 track, "I Really Mean It."
Remember how this goes. You ever heard of a Kofi list?
Yeah.
Yo, go back into your history and find out what happened between us and him. You dig? And I'm not trying to repeat history, but don't play with us when it comes to that, bro. We already went wild on them boys. You heard? We the ones that went wild on them boys. You heard?
Now we'll dive into that history in a bit, but first check how Shannon pushed back, saying Nas lyrically outclasses Jim.
Look, I'm put it to you like this, Jim. Hey, bro, you been in this thing, but lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
y'all
but look how you dress.
Nas.
Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. The things
I can be in the church house. You can't ever Nas lyrics. I don't know who told you that. Now look, I know you on that good stuff, but you're not seeing Nas.
And yet, Jim still refused to back down, challenging Nas to meet him in the booth if he really wants to prove it.
You got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better than Nas.
It don't matter.
Look at you. Look at you.
Nobody from Dipset gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the Diplomats but you.
I got a question.
Stick up for itself and meet me in a booth or something if we want to do something historical.
Nas say he don't do that no more. Nas say he don't do that
because he got $100 million. He's a very wealthy man. You heard he's a very smart businessman. He got a couple business flicks.
Hold on.
I'm rapping at a high level. You better check my stats, bro. I will run circles around Nas rapping right. I will run circles around Nas rapping right now. Right now, I will run Saturn around Nas right now rapping. Everybody knows that.
After this, Jim tried to cool things off, telling Shannon he wasn't mad, but tensions flared again when Jim challenged Shannon to meet him in the gym and accused Shannon and Ocho of booking him just to boost their ratings.
Let's get this right. I'm not mad. It's about the sportsmanship of the game. People know I'm a very aggressive person, and I seem to get misconstrued when I'm talking about. I'm just talking about. You heard? Let me talk my shit because I am on the field. If anybody got a problem with that, they can meet me on the field. That is the proof. Anybody from that era. I can sing more Nas records than you right now. So you are capping. You are capping. That's what you're doing.
First of all, bro,
you are
I'm about to be 50.
I'm a bigger Nas fan than you are. You are capping.
First of all, I'm 57. I don't be singing no rap. I don't be singing no rap.
You see what I'm saying, Ocho? He don't even know about rap. He just doing this for the views to get Jim Jones on there to get him hot. I understand.
And this is where Jim exploded into a full-blown public meltdown, with fans eating Jim alive online. Meanwhile, Shannon fired back, basically saying Jim needs their podcast way more than they need him.
But you don't know Nas lyrics. You don't know Nas.
You better check the podcast page. Now you better talk.
Sing 16.
Hey, this is the biggest podcast you ever been on.
Name one Nas record.
This is the biggest podcast you ever been on. You know what podcast you been on better than this one?
Hold on. We off topic. Hold on.
No. Name a podcast you been on bigger than this one. When you get big, you get invited to Club Shay Shay.
This is what I do.
Nas get invited to Club Shay Shay. Jadakiss get invited to Club Shay Shay. You not on that level yet, bro.
It's for little young white girls. Chill out. Chill out. Don't play with me, bro. Chill out.
Off topic.
You're dealing with the wrong one, bro.
Right here, bro.
I don't care nothing about nothing else that you got to say, bro. You might as well take
Hey, we here. You can't not
Leave
talk
me alone, bro.
You might get out rap me, but you can't out talk me.
Don't nobody want to go to Club Shay Shay. Nobody want to buy no VIP tickets to that shit. Nobody rushing to go to that shit.
Biggest podcast you ever been on.
Club Shay Shay.
Hey,
if you gotta do a podcast,
you get an invite.
But y'all, Jim wasn't done. He later hit Instagram and again challenged Shannon to go toe-to-toe in the gym. He posted a video of himself working out and wrote in the caption, "Somebody tell Shannon Sharp, don't start ducking this challenge now. You gonna talk like a podcaster or you gonna walk what you talk? Cause my sneakers tied. You already challenged me in front of the world. Might as well finish the job, champ." Ocho Cinco, he said he don't want to do it in public, let's do it in private. I know his rep as an athlete is on the line, lol. As long as you're the witness, we don't duck no challenges. Size don't matter where I'm from, run it. Young David to all Goliaths. Now, as you can imagine, Jim's desperate gym flex backfired spectacularly, and fans flooded his post with comments like, "He got wheelchair legs," and calling him a cornball for begging for attention at damn near 50. As for Nas, yeah, he eventually responded, sort of. But before we get there, here's why calling this a beef is a stretch. It's mostly Jim Jones holding a one-sided grudge. So this whole drama actually kicked off back in 2003, when Cam'ron and the Diplomats, including Jim Jones, regularly took shots at Nas on mixtapes and radio freestyles. Now fast forward to 2005, and Nas publicly shrugged off Jim in a resurfaced video, basically saying Jim's not even worth beefing with because no one's checking for him, and he never made anyone nervous with his bars.
Like, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice. He was so nice about him. How do you do that? What's the first sentence? What the fuck you writing about here? I'm not anxious to hear the Jim Jones diss record. Like, I'm like, yo, the niggas that used to have a nigga a little nervous was like B.I.G., Pac, right? Even Cannabis, like Eminem, the niggas used to have me like, if we go at it, dog, we gotta go hard. You know what I'm saying? But these niggas like a Jim Jones, like I respect you getting your money. You like exactly, right? That's why you not respecting niggas reserve again right now. I respect his hustle. I respect his hustle. That's fine.
And then about a year later, Nas dropped Hip Hop Is Dead, an album that rubbed a lot of his peers the wrong way. But no one took it more personally than Jim Jones, who actually threatened to slap Nas. In an interview with SOH.com, Jim said, "Nas, I like Nas' new song. I'll still slap the Holy Living Ish out him, but I like his new song, that Where My Gangsta's At. That ish is kinda slick. He got a couple of bars in there, but aside from that, I like music so I can never, but I'll punch him in his mouth if I had to." And while Nas kept his distance after this and ignored Jim, Jim just kept pushing. In October 2008, during an interview with Rhapsody.com, Jim said, "F Nas. I don't give an F about Nas. He's a rapper that just lost his pizzazz." Jim also told Rhapsody publicity about a tense run-in with Nas and Dame Dash at a Ferrari dealership where he boldly claimed Nas was never on his level. Jim said, Dame seen him and was talking to him. I was laying back on a couch laughing. He didn't know what to do. I was looking dead at him, and then Dame was like, you know, Jim? He started stammering. Dame is just burnt out. He not thinking about none of that frivolous-ish? Me neither for the most part. Nas was never on my level ever. But the wildest part is that Jim kept saying he didn't care about the frivolous drama, and yet he's the one holding a grudge, throwing sneak disses while Nas totally ignored him. So after 2008, the beef went quiet, and there were no public back and forths. In fact, Jim actually started showing respect for Nas's legacy, and he even admitted he reached out to collaborate. However, Nas didn't even bother to respond.
I actually reached out to Nas to actually,
Whoa.
I'm doing my shit right now because I really want him to get on this record. Nah, but we still got a bunch of mutual friends and shit like that. I actually reached out to Nas. I actually sent him the record. I got a response from him, not personally, but through the friends like that. Gave him my number. I was told, like he said, he wanted to holler at me and shit like that he liked the record. That was what I was told, but...
And get this, Jim openly admitted Nas has always been one of his favorite rappers and a major influence. And even though Nas ignored his collab request, Jim still publicly begged for a track and called him the GOAT.
Above everything besides Dipset, whatever, before Dipset, just want to put that on the record, like Nas was absolutely one of my favorite rappers of all time, from when he did the barbecue when we was in high school, walking through those always we felt like he was him and like we was him. And you know, once you get into the pros, you know what it is, and you ain't on the same team. But I would love to do a record with him, as him being one of my favorites of all time. I think that's bucket list material for me.
Word.
So, you know, we'll see what happens.
But fast forward to now, and Jim's flipped, going from calling Nas the GOAT and begging for a feature to acting like he doesn't even know him and downplaying his legacy. So no surprise that folks are clowning Jim and saying whoever hyped him up enough to think he can wrap circles around Nas must be his worst enemy. Meanwhile, Nas stays above it all. He's Hall of Fame status, no proof needed, while Jim's like that 40-year-old player still grinding for his first ring. But just when Jim thought he had the upper hand, Nas dropped a subtle but savage response, and it left Jim looking even smaller. Some fans think Nas threw a subtle jab at Jim by sending a clear message that he's way above this beef and that it's not even on his radar. So on June 21st, Nas posted a photo on Instagram having dinner with LeBron, Draymond Green, and a few successful black CEOs, and the message for Jim was plain and simple: you can't sit with us. And if you look at the comments on Nas's post, fans are saying this was the best possible non-response to all the yapping Jim has been doing lately. Fans commented things like, "This is how you silence a one-hit wonder," and "sometimes saying nothing is saying something." Also, anyone who thinks Nas would stoop to replying to Jim clearly doesn't know Nas. Did we forget he literally has a bar? It's rare I listen to dudes who never been in my position. A caterpillar can't relate to what an eagle envisions.